He didn't know he was being followed?
Well, I don't know. It's possible.
Well, I'm not sure, sir.
Not sure?
No, sir, there was something about his manner. When we picked him up as he left the Russian embassy this morning, he seemed in rather a hurry. He called a cab and just drove straight there.
This block of flats? Victory Rise?
Yes, sir. He didn't appear to talk to the driver, and at no time did they double back on their tracks.
Oh, there's something in that.
You don't think he just used the block of flats to lose you?
No.
Well, where'd he go then?
One of the flats on the 12th floor.
Or on the 11th floor? Or anywhere between there and the ground?
You mean he took the lift to the 12th floor and doubled back down the stairs? He wouldn't have had the time. I wasn't far behind.
You said the lift went down again.
Get to the second, and he couldn't have run all that way.
Well, maybe he got off at the second. Maybe somebody else took it to the 12th. And on the 12th floor there are 5 flats, you say?
81 to 85.
So what did you do?
Well, I hung about for 5 minutes in case he came out. Then I went back to Williams with the car and told him what had happened.
Did you see anybody come out?
Woman with a shopping basket and a dog. Nobody else.
Probably the person from the 2nd floor. What'd you do then?
I called for assistance. The 12th floor has been under observation ever since.
And he could still be there? You mean there's a back way out?
Well, I spoke to the caretaker. He didn't think anyone had gone out that way.
10:15 in the morning, not many people about. Chances are he's still there. Let's hope so, anyway.
Anything?
2 women talking in 84, sir, nothing more.
Well, we've got the place surrounded, but these are the flats we're interested in.
Well, whichever one he's in. It's been there 3 hours now.
He's gone?
Gone. Heathrow phoned half an hour ago. Chulkov took the midday plane to Moscow.
Well, when could he have left the flats?
When you were downstairs talking to me, sir, he must have slipped out the back way.
Well, he couldn't have been inside for more than 5 minutes.
Could have been 10, not much more. He was pretty pressed for time. He had to take another taxi to the airport straight away.
Well, why leave by the back way? Unless he knew we were waiting for him.
Perhaps he had something to hide.
Well, I better call off surveillance on the flats.
No, don't do that. Why would a man on his way back to Moscow go to the airport by way of a block of flats in the East End? I want to know who he was visiting.
But how, sir? I can't just ring at every doorbell and say, did you have a visitor from the Russian embassy this morning?
You surprise me. Now, why not tell him you're rewiring the place and might be cutting off the power? That way you'll find out which of the flats have people at home.
Oh, right, sir.
How's Robinson doing?
Well, he says if Chulkov did leave anything in the lift, it couldn't be bigger than a postage
Then
stamp.
tell him to look for a postage stamp.
Sir.
What about the corridor?
We've measured it 3 times now,
We'll
sir.
do it in
Nothing.
centimetres next.
Sir. George.
Mansell,
Sir.
what do you make of this?
Dust, sir. Nobody's been in there for months.
Yeah, that's what I thought you'd say. It's face powder.
Oh, watch it, Squire. That's not what I said, you know. You can't go putting words into my mouth like that, can you? I just hinted he liked to go out a lot at night, that's all.
Then is 81 married or not?
Oh, yeah, he's married, all right. But he still likes to go out a lot at night.
It could be shift work.
Yeah, it could be. I wish I'd worked like that then.
You don't know what he does?
Nah. Now, landlord will tell you. He's 82. Now, I know what he does. His wife's having a baby this very moment.
Employment?
You don't like a joke much, do you? At railways. He's a ticket office clerk.
Where?
Southern. He moves about a bit, you know. This week it's Putney, next week Clapham, that sort of thing.
Name?
Well, I've given it to you once already.
Oh, so you have. 83?
School teacher. Name Elise. He teaches down at Wallen Road.
Is he married?
Well, you never know with school teachers, do you? No, he ain't married.
Has he been here long?
2 or 3 years.
Did you get much mail?
Books. Stacks of them. There was one for him this morning. D.A. Lease. Here, you a copper too?
What about visitors?
Well, I never ask. You know, people come and go. Only time they notice me is that complain when the lifts have broken down. You going to be long with that one, then?
What about 84, then?
Harris. Nice little family, that. He works in some place electronics, I think it is. Oh, he wouldn't be your fence, though.
Fence?
Oh, I explained to Mr. Kay that we'd reason
Jimmy.
to suspect that Johnny the Hand was operating out of these premises.
Johnny the Hand. What a name, eh? Here, I'll tell you something, though. He ain't no Mr. Harris.
No?
Nah, wouldn't say boo to a goose, him. Mind you, there is some I could mention. Take the Brockets, for example, on a 3rd floor. Regular
Now
little
stick to the
terrace, eh?
12th. What about 85?
Oh, that's empty. I wouldn't worry about that.
Oh, it's empty.
I'll get on with these.
Yeah. How long's it been empty?
2 or 3 months, I don't know. It's nothing to do with me.
Well, what's the matter with it? Dry rot, woodworm?
No, it's no use asking me. It's the landlord's business.
What's he up to then? Some sort of fiddle with the rents?
No, I told you, it's nothing to do with me.
No, you just keep your mouth shut. You got a key?
What?
Fetch it out. Let's have a look round. Empty, all right, except for several dozen crates of whiskey. Must have fallen off a lorry one night. Someone's face is going to be red explaining them.
Otherwise clean?
Well, as far as we can tell. Had the floorboards up, the ceiling down, stripped of wiring, telephone cables, anything we can find.
Fingerprints?
No.
It's landlord's hideaway, nothing more. What about the lift?
Well, Robinson's had it to pieces. If Chulkov did leave anything there, his contact would have needed 3 hours to find it.
So there's 4 flats and the corridor.
Mansell and his chum have been over that corridor with a fine-tooth comb.
Well, that leaves us with the 4 flats then, doesn't it? 81, 82, 83
And 84.
84,
How's
yeah.
Williams making out?
It's coming together. Names of the tenants.
81 the Suttons, 82 the Fletchers. What do the ticks mean?
They're in the clear. They definitely weren't at home this morning to open the door to Chulkov.
Oh, so who was? Who is at home at 10:15 in the morning?
Housewives, old-age pensioners.
Right. None of them, though, at 83. Richard Andrew Lees, teacher, Walham Park Comprehensive, bachelor. I suppose he was teaching all morning?
No, he was taking a party of 3rd years round the Tate.
Oh, God help him. Anything known?
2 pints of milk a day.
Hooked on calcium.
Rides a bicycle to school, reads a lot. What's wrong?
I don't know, something's sticking. Do we know what sort of books he reads?
Well, the postman says mainly educational, sometimes political, left and right-wing book clubs. Probably prides himself on his balanced mind. Does yoga in his lunch hour.
Holidays, archaeological digs, adult education courses. Colleague reports if you want to know what not to do in the holidays, ask Dick Lees.
Did Chulkov ever go on one of those educational courses?
You being serious?
Well, why not? Lots of people do.
Well, I'll find out.
Come in.
George Harris at number 84. It's not his real name. He took his wife's name by deed poll when he married her.
Well?
Well, he could have a political past, sir. He came here in 1968 as a refugee from Czechoslovakia.
Agostini? Jean Romero, Paul Smart.
Are you really comfortable, you two?
I don't know if he's showing me his scrapbook or trying to steal my chair.
Well, you better watch this lot, then. Otherwise, you'll get over your 1973 TT races. Oh, that'll be Nora Brown's daughter. She left her cardigan here this morning. Here.
How is she this morning?
Oh, still the same. Still worried about her daughter's friends.
Ah, you mothers. Hey, mister, you're getting too big to sit on my knee, you know that? What's that?
A TZ750 Yamaha Daytona 74.
It's not wrong, it is too. Well.
Dad, there's this man to see you. Oh, Mum, my blue was
Come in, sir, if you'll forgive this big boy.
I'm sorry to disturb you, Mr. Harris. Your daughter assured me it'll be all right.
Yes. Well, I dare say you'll... Oh, Brian, get up to you. Take this for you.
How do you do, sir? My son's scrapbook.
Motorbikes, one of your interests?
Oh, I know a little bit about them.
Well, I'm sorry to barge in like this. Should have warned you.
Yes?
My name is Sullivan. I'm from the Borough Rent Office.
Oh, yes.
Now, we're investigating an application for the registration of a fair rent on behalf of the landlord.
Have you any identification, Mr. Sullivan?
Oh, yes, of course.
But the rent's only just gone up. He can't want more.
Yes, I know that. There are just one or two questions I'd like to ask.
Sit down, Mr. Sullivan, and ask your questions.
Thank you. But it won't take long. We usually find it's best to call in the evenings when the tenants are at home. How long you been here, Mr. Harris?
Are you perhaps investigating my naturalization? You know that I'm Czechoslovakian by
George,
birth, but
that's not
for
his
6 months
business.
now I've been British. The papers have been signed and sealed and are there for your inspection.
No, you don't understand. There's no question of that. I'm simply asking you about your tenancy.
We moved in here 3 years ago when we got married. My children.
That's good.
Our children.
3 years. The flat is in your name, Mr. Harris?
Our name, my name was Spacek. I changed to her
George,
name
now
when we
that's
got
not
married by
necessary.
deed poll. It's all quite legal.
Now, before you came here, before
I
you
was
got married...
boarding with Mrs. Harris at Selly Oak, Birmingham. It's on the file of the Aliens Department of the Home Office.
Yes, of course.
What's this to do with the rent?
How many rooms have you got?
3 bedrooms, this room, kitchen, toilet, and the small hall you came in by.
And a bathroom.
Oh, thank you. Yes, of course, a bathroom.
You made many improvements yourself?
Of course, all the time. The place is constantly falling down about our ears.
Well, we need one of our people to come in, measure the rooms, take particulars of the improvements. Only trying to be fair, you understand.
Of course, one must be fair.
Mrs. Harris, did one of my colleagues call this morning? He should have come to warn you of my visit.
This morning?
It would help if you could remember.
Well, 2 men called about midday to say they were rewiring the corridor. We might have the power cut off, but nobody else.
Nobody.
No.
Think carefully. These questions are always very important.
No, nobody else. Well, Mrs. Brown was with me. She'll tell you the same.
Oh, it's not important. Perhaps he went elsewhere.
You must find him.
Why did you leave Czechoslovakia, Mr. Harris?
For the same reasons that you are asking me these questions about your colleague, Mr. Sullivan. I could not accept the inevitability of events.
That's very good.
At 6:15 p.m. on the evening of August the 25th, 1968, Czechoslovak radio reported that 800 Russians had landed in Prague, carrying forged passports and papers. They were known to be officials of Soviet state security. 4 of my friends had already been rounded up. 2 had been shot. I knew it was time for me to get out. At 7 o'clock, a party of Russians, wearing Czech civilian suits and carrying cards identifying them as members of Czech public security, presented themselves at my flat. They searched and smashed everything. I escaped into the streets. I knew they would be back for me. Everywhere was the same. A great nation was being castrated. I knew where I could get a lift to the frontier. What do you do, Mr. Sullivan, when the light goes out of your life? Do you simply accept the dark, or do you look for a candle?
I think I know what may have happened to your friend. About 10 o'clock this morning, or just after, I heard the front doorbell ring next door in Mr. Lee's flat. And I remember saying to Mrs. Brown, I wonder if they'll hear it over the noise of the radio. They play the radio ever so loud in there, you see. Then I heard voices, and I knew they had.
There you are. All is explained. What's that? Come on, you're not concentrating.
In Norton 750.
That's better. Anything is possible when you concentrate.
Mrs. Harris, I understand that Mr. Lees was at school teaching today. Do you have any idea who could have opened the door to his visitor?
Well?
His niece.
His niece? Where did she spring from? Nobody mentioned a niece before.
She's been staying with her uncle for 10 days, ever since she arrived from Canada.
Aha. Have you seen her?
No, but the Harrises have several times.
So she opened the door to Chulkov, eh?
If it was Chulkov.
Time was right, just after 10. And you did say you heard a radio playing yourself in the flat, didn't you?
That's something that's puzzling me, sir.
Go on.
Well, both Mrs. Harris and Major Sullivan say they heard the radio. But later, when you asked Mansell if he'd heard anything while he was pretending to measure up the corridor, he said 2 women talking at 84, nothing more.
So?
Well, somebody must have switched the radio off by then.
Well, the girl, Lee's niece.
Yes, sir, but later when Mansell called back to warn the occupants that the power was to be cut off, he said at 83, nobody answered the door.
Ah.
So where was the girl then, sir?
Well, we know somebody was in the flat. Who else could have turned the radio off?
So why didn't she answer the door to Mansell?
Well, she was in the loo.
No, sir, because if you remember, Mansell called back later and there was still no reply.
Then she was lying low.
Why? She had a perfect right to be there. Everybody knew she was there. The neighbours, anyway.
Well, my point is, sir, perhaps the girl wasn't there at all when Mansell called.
Then where was she? If she'd left, Mansell would have seen her go.
Or perhaps she'd gone before Mansell arrived.
Well, like Chulkov, you mean?
With Chulkov, while you two were downstairs.
Well, that's a thought.
It may be the only thought. It does time together, doesn't it?
Check with Heathrow, sir.
If she went to Moscow with Chulkov, she didn't stay very long in this country, did she? Just 10 days.
It's Canadian, you say. We got a name, details?
Oh, nothing. The Harrises simply knew her as the niece.
Well, we'd better find her, hadn't we? Without her, we haven't got very much.
Well, don't you think we're jumping to conclusions too quickly?
Well, of all the possible, she's the most probable. She must have opened the door to Chulkov, and she must have left with him. There was no other opportunity.
National Chulkov.
Unless she's still there.
Can you remember if he was on his own?
Chulkov might have killed her.
Oh, yes, I do realise that.
Well, in either event, we'd better visit the flat, don't you think? What time did this Lees come home today?
4:40.
Didn't report a body, did he?
You're quite sure about that?
Are they still watching the corridor?
Yeah, from the empty flat.
Well, if they'd seen any sign of activity, they would have told us, wouldn't they?
Thank you, I'll report that. Baker, sir, at the airport. To the best of his recollection, Chulkov boarded the aircraft alone.
Doesn't mean much.
No, sir, but he did check further, and the only unaccompanied women to board the aircraft were either Russian citizens or elderly.
So the chances are she's still in the country. But where? Mr. Lees?
Yes?
My name's Ryan. I wonder if I could speak to your niece for a moment.
I'm afraid she's not here.
Oh, dear. That is unfortunate. This is official business.
Well?
She's staying here, isn't she? This is the address she gave on her disembarkation card when she arrived from Canada.
Oh, yes.
Well, that's a relief.
Are you from Customs and Immigration?
One of their branches. Apparently there's been a slight mix-up, admin mix-up, over some of her details. Nothing serious.
Oh, what a shame. Would you like to come in?
Well, that would be very kind of you.
I may be able to help you. See, I do know her details. Inside.
Thank you.
Yes, definitely disorganized. Saturday morning, you know, I can't be bothered. Then on Sundays I have a huge clean-up. Everything gets swept away until Wednesdays. Here comes Saturday again, and I can't move.
Well, if it's a way of life that suits you, I don't see that it does any harm.
Oh, it does, it does. Suit me, I mean. Coffee?
Thank you very much.
And do sit down, Mr.
Ryan.
If you can find a place. My niece always says this place reminds her of something out of Alice in Wonderland, but I do think that makes it sound a bit fey.
Yes, she's going to be away long, sir.
Away? Did I say she got away?
No, I'm sorry, you didn't. You just said that she wasn't here.
Exactly. Words are terribly important, Mr. Ryan. Away implies an absence of 24 hours or more.
So she's only just gone out?
Oh, no, she did, in fact, depart yesterday.
But you don't know when she'll be back.
That's it, precisely.
She's been with you 10 days, I'm told.
10 days?
Well, our records may be wrong, of course.
Oh, I hardly think so. Then 10 days it is.
And she came from Canada?
Montreal, to be exact.
On a visit?
Your records do sound incomplete. Yes, on a visit.
For long?
Forever, if necessary.
She's going to stay here permanently.
Even she couldn't answer that. But I think she hopes to, yes.
Wonder if I could have her Canadian address from you, sir.
Well, she hasn't got one.
Well, she must have had somewhere.
She gave it up.
Before she gave it up.
Ooh, a lodging house.
Where?
You'll have to ask her.
If we find her.
There is that.
And I wonder if I might just confirm her full name with you, sir?
Oh, of course.
Her name?
I'm so sorry. I thought you said confirm. Deborah Ann Lees, age 34. She was the only child of my beloved brother Bill. He married, you see, just before the war, a girl from the Midlands, and took her with him to Canada, where they remained ever since. Winnipeg, 1941, the child was born. There.
When was this taken?
Such a bad-tempered looking child, I always thought. 1944, when the child was 3. Then they moved.
Where?
Oh, everywhere. My brother was engaged on war work. He was an electrical engineer of some eminence, I'm told. We lost touch. These things happen. I had my own interests. In any case, I was always more fond of him than he was of me. Then 2 months ago, Deborah wrote. They both been killed in a car accident. She was coming here to live. Of course, I grieved, but I think it was more the thought of grief rather than the emotion itself which I experienced.
And then she came here?
Direct from Southampton. Of course, there were difficulties. I can't pretend it was all plain sailing.
What sort of difficulties?
Oh, not your sort of passport difficulties. I mean, family complications. When she turned 21, I sent her, a small thing, something that had belonged to my mother, a brooch, a cameo. You know how it is. Her mother made her send it back. She's a nasty, scheming woman, but these things hurt, Mr. Ryan. We're all vulnerable.
Of course we are. But I should imagine that you've discussed the whole matter with Miss Lees and it's all been straightened out.
Not a word. Not a word of the affairs passed my lips. She'll never vote for me. How wounded I was. Now, I'm happy to relate. She's not bad-tempered at all. In fact, we get on famously. Does that surprise you?
Not at all.
A confirmed old bachelor with his books and passions, but indeed she shares them all.
What sort of passions?
All sorts. Finding out, never being content, seeking out the truth and dragging it kicking and screaming into the open. History, economics, social welfare, mathematics.
Politics.
Coffee, Mr. Vine.
Thank you.
I made it black. I hope you don't mind. I can't bear the taste of milk or sugar. Neither can she. False taste, she calls them. Phony.
And, you don't know when she'll be back?
It may be in a few days.
Or where she's gone?
It may be Oxford.
Oxford?
Or thereabouts. Friend of her mother, so I'm told. She said she might pop up and see them. They asked her to phone them. Prefix 0865 or some such.
You don't happen to have the rest of the number, do you, sir?
Well, I may have it somewhere.
Of course, a lot of these questions may be wasting your time. A colleague of mine was hoping to call on your niece yesterday morning. You don't happen to know by any chance if he did?
Oh, dear me, no. I was making what the school euphemistically calls a visit of my own. When I returned home, she'd left.
So you don't know if she had a visitor?
No.
Yes, I know what she means about the taste of sugar. I prefer it without the salt.
Phony.
Inspector, I want you to contact the Oxford police, get them to call at that number, and ask for a Deborah Ann Lees.
Yes, sir.
And if she's there?
Get a hold of her and let us know. Don't give them any details.
Very good, sir.
Well, it's taking a bit of a chance, isn't it? We've got nothing on it.
Except a secret meeting with a Russian security man.
Supposition.
Probability. Chulkov took us to the 12th floor.
Unless I made a mistake.
And he called at one of the flats.
I repeat, unless I made a mistake.
And the only person who could have opened the door to him is Lees's niece.
Unless he simply slipped a note into any one of the other flats.
All right, so who rang the bell at number 83 at 10:15?
But anybody.
Did you see this anybody in the corridor when you
No,
arrived?
but I could have just missed him.
Both lifts were at the 12th floor. So unless this anybody was walking down the stairs, where was he? And where was Chulkov? We know the girl was in the flat at 10:15 because Mrs. Harris heard her receive a visitor. And we know she'd gone by the time Mansell arrived because Mansell didn't see her go and she's not there now. Also, we know that Chulkov must have left about the same time because he was seen getting on that plane for Moscow. So the two of them must have left the building by the back way at approximately the same time and possibly together. Supposition of a meeting? Yes, but very probable.
And Chulkov drove to Heathrow and the girl went to Oxford.
Well, if that number that Lees gave us is correct.
You think Lees knows she's meeting Chulkov?
Yes, I do. I do think he knows. And I think he gave us that number just to put us off the scent.
So you don't think she's in Oxford at all?
We won't know until we hear.
And what do we do until we're here?
We wait.
Report from the Oxford police, sir. They checked the number and went round to the address. Well, the house was empty, but while they were waiting there, the owner arrived. An elderly lady known to have been living there for some time. In answer to their inquiries, her exact words were, "Yes, of course I know Miss Lees. She stayed with me last night. I'm afraid you missed her. I've just put her on the 4:45 train to London. Is there anything wrong?"
What time does that get in?
18:43, sir.
Right, get Lees. Meet us at Paddington. We've got half an hour.
She wasn't there.
I'm taking him back with me. Have a look around his flat.
Over to go?
Anything. Inspector? I want to know where your niece is, Mr. Lees.
I don't follow, Mr. Barr.
That's a perfectly simple statement. You value words. You
But
want to
I
be able to
told you.
understand them.
I told you this morning I don't know where Debbie is. Did you try that number I gave you?
We've missed her 3 times. Yesterday at your flat, this afternoon in Oxford, this evening at Paddington. I am beginning to think she doesn't exist.
Well, that's absurd.
Or perhaps she's been spirited away. And people are covering up for her.
People?
You, those friends in Oxford.
I don't follow, Mr. Ryan. Is there something wrong with her passport? I've told you all I know, everything. I'm not trying to hide anything. When I returned home from school yesterday, she'd gone.
No note?
No.
No indication of where she'd gone or when she'd be back?
No.
That didn't surprise you?
Why should it? She's her own master.
Leads her own life, eh?
Yes.
Like you.
Yes.
A confirmed old bachelor with his books and his passions.
Yes.
And no questions asked. Who are these friends from Oxford?
I told you.
Well, tell me again.
She said they were friends of our mother's.
Her mother's dead, you told me that also.
Friends of our mother's when our mothers lived here, I suppose she meant.
And of course you've never met them.
No.
But you have got their telephone number.
They telephoned her once. She must have written to them shortly after she arrived. They said they'd love to see her and asked her to phone them.
And you wrote the number down?
Yes.
And that's the number that you gave me.
Yes.
But you still say that you've never met them?
Yes.
Williams? Now, why should they lie?
Lie?
They told me that they'd put her on the 4:45 for London.
Perhaps they made a mistake.
Put her on, those were the exact words. Do you make mistakes like that?
No.
Why should they?
I don't know. I tell you, I don't know anything about them.
Did you make a mistake?
What do you mean?
Was she among the passengers getting off that train at Paddington?
I didn't see her.
Or did you just fail to identify her?
No. Stop this. Who are you? I don't believe you're what you say you are. Are you some sort of policeman?
Would it worry you if I were?
No, no.
Then why are you sweating?
Are you surprised? I don't know anything about you. You pick me up, question me.
I don't have to tell you who I am. But I will tell you this much. I'm not playing customs and immigration with you this evening. Richard Andrew Lees. Born abroad, 25th of September, 1921. India. Right?
What is this?
Son of Henry Joseph Lees and Mary Kate Lees. Educated St. Paul's School and Mannering in India. Arrived England 3rd of May, 1932. Continued education Brighton, Newcastle, London, and again Brighton. Moved about a bit as a child, didn't you?
My father's work. Where did you get all
Borough
this?
surveyor, yes. Father died 1936. Only brother William immigrated Canada 1939. Mother killed, air raid 1941. Subject moved to Winchester, Eastleigh, Petersfield. Still moving? No war service.
Well, I wasn't medically fit. My eyes, even as a child,
Yes, I know. I've got the prescription here. Returned to London 1952, taught Shoreditch, Hammersmith, Stepney, Deptford, Walham Park. Elementary biology, maths, the old kind, I assume, English grammar, religious instruction, and games. Colleagues, rateability rather low. No close friends, but spends holidays in company with Henry Charles Ross, bachelor. 1971 Cardiff, 1972 Newport, and a school for adult education 1973.
No right to bring that up.
Frequent meetings at Caxton Hall, anti-apartheid, Christian Socialist Movement, Fabian Society, University of London, LSE, Theosophists, Buddhists, Humanists, every kind of fringe organisation, even voluntary euthanasia. I suppose that's what you mean by dragging truth, kicking and screaming into the open. Hmm? Yeah. There's even something about buying soft-core porn through the post.
That's not true.
It's all here, every bit of it, page after page. Ah. Do you want to know the name of the man you spoke to on Putney Towing Path a week ago last Tuesday? So, accepting the futility of lying, where is your niece?
Coffee? It's all right. I know you don't take sugar.
Purse, cigarettes, comb, wallet. Ah, that's what we're after.
Shall I make out a receipt, sir?
No, just leave everything where it is. This is what we want. Yes, landed Southampton, 23rd of September. Mrs. Harris was right. 10 days. You know what to do with that, don't you?
Yes, sir.
Any news from Oxford, by the way?
And also, they're still talking to the old lady, sir.
What old ladies?
Your friends who claim to have put you on the 4:45 for London.
The 4:45? Look, what are you talking about?
Your extraordinary journey. You left Oxford in one train and arrived in London on another, nearly an hour late.
Well, is that so important?
It's an achievement which would puzzle even British Rail.
Who are you, anyway?
So we say, a friend of your uncle's? A very relieved friend. We've been looking for you for 24 hours. We thought you were dead.
Dead?
You disappeared so conveniently.
Oh, I've been in Oxford.
I still find that hard to believe.
Look, is there a law against that in this country? Well, then what does it matter?
Tell me about the old ladies.
Miss McKinley and her sister?
If that's the name, yes.
Well, they were friends of my mother's. I mean, they knew her as a child.
English?
Yes.
Thought your mother was Canadian.
No, English.
And you know these ladies quite well, hmm?
No, I never met them before yesterday. Look, this is ridiculous. What are you trying to make me say?
I want to know why you were nearly an hour late arriving in London. And when we've sorted that out, I want to know what you've been doing since 10:15 yesterday morning.
And if I refuse to tell you?
I came here as a child with my parents. Lived in Brighton, Newcastle, London. It's in my file. Why don't you look in my file?
What file?
Didcot? You broke your journey at Didcot?
Yes.
Why?
I wanted to see where my mother was born.
I thought you said that your mother was born in Canada.
No, England.
In Didcot?
No, near there.
You said Didcot.
I broke the journey at Didcot because I was told I could get a bus to the village where my mother was born.
What village would that be?
Sutton Courtenay. I was told I could get a bus from Didcot.
So that's how you spent nearly an hour, getting a bus to Sutton Courtenay from Didcot?
Well, yes, and walking around Sutton Courtenay and then getting another bus back to Didcot and then waiting for the next train to
Tell me
London.
about your family.
Was he your only brother?
Yes.
So you were fond of him. Were you upset when he got married?
Yes.
Didn't you like the girl he got married to?
Well, I suppose so. Yes, I hardly knew her. I only met her once. She seemed pleasant enough.
But you still didn't like him getting married?
I didn't
You got something
say
against
that.
marriage?
No.
Who's Henry Charles Ross?
And then we moved to Alberta, to a place called Lethbridge. Dad was employed at Vickery Pits near Crow's Nest Pass. It was hard work, you know. We hardly ever saw him.
The war still on?
Oh, no, it must have been over by then, but it didn't mean very much to me. Lethbridge was about 100 miles from the pass, so we only saw my dad at weekends. Mom and I grew very close as a result. People used to tease us, particularly the other girls at the convent. You know, once we went for a holiday to Vancouver, and she bought me a St. Bernard puppy for my birthday.
Do you ever write to your uncle?
No. No, I didn't write. I don't think it was ever suggested that I should.
You ever write to you?
I think there was some kind of unpleasantness when Mom married my dad, you know. I don't think Uncle Richard hit it off with her. No, he didn't write.
What about the old ladies? Did they write?
Well, I suppose they must have. I remember seeing Christmas cards from England and believing in all those stagecoaches and things. But I don't know who sent them.
Why didn't you write?
I didn't know where they were. Oh, I had the card from my brother in Alberta, but by the time I got it, he'd moved.
When was that?
Oh, 55, 56, something like that. He was going up to work on a power installation project in the Banff National Park. Bow Lake, I think it was. I was having some difficulty with my school, I remember, so I never got round to finding out exactly where he'd gone.
What sort of difficulty?
With the headmaster. He didn't like my methods. I like to make the boy think. There's so much to think about, don't you agree?
Yes, I can see why you're not exactly top of the popularity poll. Let's get back to Canada. When did you next hear from him?
Never.
The car slid off the pass and burst into flames. And by the time that the highway patrol got to them, they were dead. I was working in Toronto at the time. I flew up to Edmonton for the funeral, and then I sold the house, and I moved east for good.
So then you decided to come here?
For the time being, yes.
Until Chulkov sends for you.
Who?
When did he first make contact with you?
And now you've lost me again.
Your visitor yesterday morning.
Oh, look, I didn't have a visitor yesterday morning. I think you've forgotten that I went to Oxford.
What time did you leave the flat?
10, 10:30, something like that.
10 or 10:30?
Well, perhaps it was nearer 10.
You sure?
Fairly sure.
There was a radio playing in your flat at 10:15.
Oh, then it must have been nearer 10:30.
And you still say that you didn't have a visitor?
Oh, look, what are you trying to make me say?
That's the second time you said that. Why should you assume that I'm trying to make you say anything? Why not just tell me the truth? Let me draw my own conclusions.
I am telling you the truth, but I'm hell of a tempted not to, because I don't know what kind of conclusion...
What time did you get to Didcot?
5 o'clock.
And what time did your bus leave for Sutton Courtenay?
5 after 5. And if you're going to ask me where I was 2 weeks ago last Wednesday, I'm going to tell you I haven't got the faintest idea.
I would have been very surprised if you had.
I've got enough facts on Canada to stock up a geography textbook. I can't say I've learned much about the Leases.
Well, one thing's certain, they didn't like each other. Well, keep pressing. She's already tied herself in a knot over Chulkov's visit.
What bus did she say she caught to Sutton Courtenay?
17:05.
There wasn't one.
Well, then where did she go?
Well, there was a bus at 17:05, but it went another way.
Not to Sutton Courtenay?
No, to East Challow and Wantage.
Yeah, ask Inspector Williams to come to Major Sullivan's office right away, would you? Right. Now, why would she want to go to East Challow or Wantage?
Why would she want to go to Sutton Courtenay?
Visit her mother's birthplace.
You believe that?
Somerset's house will sort that out. What other places are nearby?
Harwell.
Well, let's hope she steered clear of there.
Oxford, sir. They're still talking to the Mrs. McKinley, but one thing's turned up. They remember her mother as a little girl in Coventry. That's where they were all brought up.
Not at Sutton Courtenay?
No, sir. And I brought in a map as well, sir. We're trying to find out from the travel centre at Didcot Station if anybody noticed the girl asking about buses.
Fine. Now, she had an hour between trains, right?
Yes, she got to Didcot at 16:59. She left again at 17:59.
She caught this 17:05 bus to East Challow. But she couldn't have got there, could she? Not all the way. Not if she had to get back to Didcot in time to catch that train to London. It's over an hour there and back.
Well, she needn't have gone the whole way, sir.
What, you mean she might have dropped off somewhere?
Well, she could have got to Harwell.
Yeah, where else? No, hey, just a minute. How long would it have taken her to get to Sutton Courtenay from Didcot?
Oh, 20 minutes. Why?
Well, if this story about her mother's birthplace is a lie, then she must have had some reason for picking on that particular village. Perhaps it just fitted in with her timetable. How far would she have got in 20 minutes on the other route?
Oh, East Hendred, no further. West Hendred at a pinch.
Harwell?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's too obvious, isn't it? Do the names East, West Hendred mean anything to us?
No, sir.
What about the Berkshire police? Have they got tabs on anyone there? You better check the Oxfordshire authorities as well.
Very good, sir.
Now then, 20 minutes there, 20 minutes back. That's plenty of time to affect the purpose of her visits. What do you suppose that purpose was?
Something to do with this.
What's that?
It came from Lees's flat.
D.A. Lees. D.A.?
That's what was puzzling me yesterday. You said Lees's name's of Richard Andrew.
Yeah.
Yesterday morning, the caretaker said a book had arrived for D.A. Lees. Now, I thought it must have been Dick, but it could have been for the niece.
Deborah Ann, no. No sign of the book, I suppose.
Not at the flat. Maybe she was meant to take it on this safari to Berkshire.
Seen the postmark?
Yeah, Wantage, that's what reminded me.
Mm-hmm. Now, why should she have to deliver a book only a few miles from where it was posted? There's something wrong there, isn't there?
Your overnight bag. Michelin Guide to Germany, 1969.
She didn't deliver it, but she had to take it with her. Why?
Child, what on earth are you doing here? They said they couldn't find you.
Well, they were waiting at the flat. Look, what is all this about? Have you got any idea?
Some monstrous bureaucratic mistake, if you ask me. My dear, have you eaten? You must be famished, and you're trembling.
No, I'll be fine as soon as I get out of here. If only I knew what they wanted.
Well, they said it was something to do with your passport. It is all right, isn't it?
All right. Sure, it's all right.
And there was something about a visitor. Did somebody call on you yesterday?
No, not a soul.
So, it really does seem to be
Berkshire police, sir. They've got records of 2 people living in the East Hendred area. One of them I don't think is any good to us. He's done several stretches for shoplifting, assault, that sort of thing.
What about the other?
Mark Painter, sir.
Painter? Now, Miss Lees, when you took the bus to Sutton Courtenay, where did you catch it?
At the station.
That'll be Didcot Station, wouldn't it? That's in the High Street, very busy area.
No, it faces a small square. There's a hotel opposite and a garage on the right. It's very quiet.
And the travel centre's on the other side of the road next to the hotel?
No, it's in the station building.
And you went there, didn't you? Now, what bus did you catch to Sutton Courtenay?
I told you, 5 after 5.
It went where?
Harwell, Rostock Corner, Steventon, and then there was another place, Milton, and then Sutton Courtenay.
Excellent. Your memory serves you very well. And that's where your mother was born, Sutton Courtenay?
Yes.
You sure?
Yeah, she wrote it down for me years ago on a piece of paper.
Did you see the house?
Yes.
Could you describe it?
Well, it's near the church.
Ah, yes, the church. What's the church called?
I can't remember.
Actually, it's called All Saints.
Yes, but one seldom remembers the names of churches, don't you find? I mean, they all look alike. But I'm afraid you couldn't have caught that bus to Sutton Courtenay, Miss Lees. Now, why are you lying to me?
I'm not.
But you must be. You see, there isn't a 17:05 bus to Sutton Courtenay on Saturday afternoons. Timetable says so.
Well, there is. I mean, there has to be. I took it.
No, not that one. There is a bus at 17:05 that does go on much the same route. Harwell, Rostock Corner to East Hendred.
Well, then.
Yes, but you see, it turns off at Rostock Corner and goes to East Challow and Wantage. Why did you go to see Mark Painter, Miss Lees?
Why am I bullying her? She's done nothing wrong.
I'm quite sure, Mr. Lees. You see, you were only of any use as long as her mother's birthplace was in doubt. But Somerset House will confirm that she was born in the Midlands. Well, Miss Lees?
I've never heard of this person.
He probably sent you a book yesterday morning, posted in Wantage, giving directions on how to reach him.
No.
And then later, that same morning, you received a visit from an official of the Russian embassy. He probably came to confirm that you'd got the book and that you knew what to do next. And then at 10:30, you left your flat with this Russian security man, and later you took a train to Oxford, where you spent the night with these friends of your mother. And on the way back, you visited Mark Painter.
I haven't got the faintest idea what you're talking about.
Toronto, sir.
Miss Lees, what did your uncle give you for your 21st birthday? Well, come on now, you must remember.
It was sent back.
Yes, I know it was. But even if she never saw it, she would have heard what it was.
Well,
I could
Don't
tell
try
her.
it, sir.
It was a watch.
Well, she could have forgotten. It was a long time ago.
Not that long. And there must have been a lot of talk about it at the time. Why did Chulkov send you to see Mark Painter, Miss Lees? This was sent to you through the post. Do you know what it is? Oh, come on, Miss Lees. Aren't your initials D.A.?
It could have been for me.
Yes, it could have been, but it was found in Miss Lee's luggage. A 1969 Michelin guide to Germany. Well, Miss Lees?
Not exactly light reading, is it?
Not much use in Berkshire.
6 years out of date, posted 2 days ago in Wantage.
Probably sent through the post to you. Probably by Painter. Why?
Oh, why should he send me a book when, according to you, he was going to see me later anyway?
Simple identification. He wanted to be sure that you were the person to whom he could pass his information.
Well, who is this man? Painter. And why should he have information for Debbie?
He was sentenced to 7 years for espionage, Mr. Lees. He's only recently come out. He has a great deal of information which we and the Russians would still like. A lot of his contacts were never caught. If the Russians could find out who they are and send in a new organizer to reactivate the cell, Painter's old network could be started up again. This is probably very valuable. Could contain the key to all his codes.
7 years, you said? Well, he couldn't have used that. I mean, he'd already been in prison in 1969.
He was sentenced to 7 years, miss, but only served 5. He went in at the end of 1969.
Mr. Lees? Yes? I have to tell you that your niece, Deborah Ann Lees, daughter of William and Elizabeth Lees, died on the 4th of October, 1949, at the age of 8 years.
Debbie?
Which is probably why her mother returned the brooch to you.
But this is her here.
No, I'm afraid not. This young lady assumed your niece's identity in order to use you as her cover while she established herself in this country. In due course, we shall discover her true identity. In the meanwhile, a car will take you home, Mr. Lees. This young lady and I have a great deal to talk about. I think perhaps you'd better give this young lady a receipt for these things now, Inspector.